Welcome to Mark, week 2. We're going to be in chapter 6 through 10 today. Chapter 6 begins with Jesus in his own hometown. And as you read chapter 6, just kind of keep this in mind that Jesus actually is going to offend everybody at some point. He's going to offend you at some point as well. He's going to offend everybody if we're paying attention to him and what he says and what he asks of us. At some point, that's going to be offensive. And that's how it should be. This is God breaking into our world, and we're unable to comprehend that. We're unable to accept that just as it is. And so chapter 6 is really him sort of being involved with these folks and feeding 5,000, John the Baptist beheaded. Chapter 7, just sort of something to really keep in mind is that he gets involved with the religious leaders, and he's challenging them as to what it means to be clean, what it means to be faithful. He is always pushing back on religious people as to why they're religious. Are they trying to earn love? Are they doing it out of love? Are they doing it out of duty? Are they feel like they're slaving away? And so he's constantly pushing back on religious people, and chapter 7 is one of those things. Then he heals a woman who's not Jewish. He heals a man who's deaf and mute. In chapter 8, he feeds 4,000, and then he gets into a dialogue with the disciples about the yeast of the Pharisees, and that could be a couple of different things. One is that it could be the hypocrisy, that they talk about being clean, but on the inside they're judgmental. The other is sort of a self-righteousness that they have, that they are constantly believing themselves to be better. They're constantly trying to justify themselves and don't believe they need this Savior that Jesus is coming to be. And so that's also a very important conversation for those of us who are religious, those of us who have a religious background, if you want to say it that way. So chapter 8 is pretty important in that way as well as it gets to that. Then chapter 8 also has one of the foundational moments in the Gospel of Mark. It has the questioning of the disciples. Jesus asked them, who do people say I am? And then he finally gets down to, who do you say I am? And Peter gives his great answer, you are the Christ. That's a very technical answer, meaning you are the one we've been waiting for. You're the promised one. You're the one set aside. You're the Messiah. You are that. And so it's a very clear point at which Jesus has drawn out of them the faith that he's the one they've been waiting for. And it's at that point there's a shift in the gospel, in Mark's gospel. And so the shift is this. In verse 31 of chapter 8, it says, he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things. He began to change his approach. His approach was to sort of gather these people and to try to talk to them about the kingdom, talk to them about who he was, show them who he was, and now he is more, now that they believe, he's more fully going to explain what that means to be the Christ, to be the Messiah, that he must suffer and die, that he must rise again, that he must pay for the sins of the world. And so it's a shift in the gospel. The movement begins to change a little bit. Chapter 9 is the Transfiguration, where Jesus takes a few of his disciples up on a mountain and reveals to them his glory. And then as they come down from the mountain, chapter 9 also has a very, very interesting and key verse. There's a demon-possessed boy who the disciples are unable to heal. And Jesus says to the man who's the father, he says, everything is possible for him who believes. And the father responds in a very, very deep and unbelievable way when he says, Lord, I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. And in that moment, we get a real sense of what faith is, that it's never enough, it's never complete, but the one we put our faith in is enough and complete. And so this man knows he believes but doesn't believe enough. It's a great section. Chapter 10 is some hard teaching about divorce. And if you got questions about that, why don't you email me? And then he gets into something with a rich young ruler, and the rich young ruler comes to Jesus with a self-righteous life. He has done all the things he's supposed to do, but Jesus is not going to allow him to believe that he is sufficient of himself. And so he says to him, look, all that you lack is sell all you have and give it to the poor and come follow me. Well, the man was rich, and he walked away sad. And the disciples cannot believe that this man couldn't be saved. The rich had time to tithe, time to fast, time to go to the temple. They had time to do all these things. And if the rich can't be saved, then who can possibly be saved? It's in that Jesus gives them the teaching point. It's not that this man had too much money. It's that he thought he was self-sufficient. And so what Jesus does is takes him to a place where he can't do what's being asked. And the point of that is that what is impossible with men is possible with God. That you can be saved, but it can't be your way. It has to be God's way. And so chapter 10 has a very powerful section in there as well. Hope you enjoy these chapters of Mark.